The following is a program of the Santa Barbara County Education Office. To learn more, visit sbceo.org.
I'm Susan Salcido, Santa Barbara County Superintendent of Schools, and I am so delighted to introduce to all of you our guest today, the Mayor of Santa Maria, Alice Patino. Thank you so much for being with me today.
Well, thank you very much, Susan.
And the Honorable Mayor Patino was elected her first term in 2012 and is now serving her second term. And again, we're just so thrilled that you're here, and we want to hear about all of the wonderful things that are happening in the city of Santa Maria. But before we get there, let's go back a little bit in time and talk about your childhood, your background. Tell us where you were born and raised.
I was accidentally born in Los Angeles, okay, and I don't know what my mother was doing down there so close to birth, but my parents were living here in Santa Maria. They had gone down to visit some cousins in the valley, and so I was born in Los Angeles. When I look at my birth certificate, you can't even tell what hospital it was, so it may not even exist anymore. So.
But you were born in Los Angeles, but grew up in Santa Maria.
No.
No, okay.
So my dad was stationed at Camp Cook. Do you know where Camp Cook is?
Is it? No, you have to tell me.
Okay, it is now Vandenberg.
Ah, okay.
So I like to trick people.
That is a good trick question.
Yes, my sister was born at Camp Cook. And so my dad was in the military, so I was an Army brat, and I was raised all over the world.
Wow. Gosh, tell us a little bit about different places that you...
Probably through the first 8 years of school, I attended, I think it was 9 different schools.
Wow.
So we lived in Germany right after the war. We were there in 1945 and went to a one-room schoolhouse that was heated by coal. Wow. And in fact, I was thinking about the other day, we used slates in school.
Right?
We did. We used a slate. And so you get immersed in the culture, you're immersed, of course, in the language. And then coming back from Germany, we lived here for a very short time and went to Yokohama, Japan. And then when the Korean War broke out, then we came stateside again. But again, immersed in 2 different types of cultures. So by the time I was in 8th grade, I was speaking German, some Japanese, and I spoke Spanish with my grandmother because she did not speak English. So, and none of that was maintained other than the Spanish, because you can use Spanish around here, but not a lot of Germans around here.
Wow, that is really fascinating. So lots of different places.
A lot of different schools.
Talk about growing up, a lot of different schools and lots of different geography. And what about siblings? Do you have siblings?
So I have one sister, and she currently lives in Napa, so I've been calling her every single day to see what's going on out there. She's had to evacuate. My nephew has had to evacuate twice. So it's really disconcerting when I call and I can't reach anyone, and then finally reach somebody. And they just, it's not so much in Napa, but up in Santa Rosa.
Yeah.
Not that there wasn't people in Napa that lost homes. And in fact, I was talking to my nephew just yesterday, and he said some kind of an ember, I guess, came flying through into his backyard, and the size of a hot tub, and he found it on fire and had to put that out. So
wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, so it's, it's crazy, and such a disaster.
It really is, and I'm glad to hear your sister, your nephew are doing okay, and I hope everyone else in up north is doing as well as they can during this time.
I know you look at the film on TV and you think, oh my gosh, especially up in Santa Rosa, that they were the hardest hit.
Yes, yes. So we talked about lots of different places and where you grew up and your sibling, and how did you get back to Santa Maria?
My grandparents lived here.
Okay.
So anytime my dad was overseas, and during the Korean War, he was overseas, and we lived with my grandmother. And so Santa Maria was always home. So he came back here, went to school here, partly junior high, and then we moved up to Pittsburgh, California, and from there moved to Anchorage, Alaska. And most of my high school was in Anchorage, Alaska. and then came back to Santa Maria the last semester of my senior year. So I did graduate from Santa Maria High.
You are a saint through and through.
So people assume that being they knew me in the 4th grade, or they knew me in junior high, or they knew me in high school, that I was born and raised here. And so it takes a long explanation to say, my heart was always here, and this was home, but I wasn't always raised here.
It's a fascinating background. I'm so thankful that you shared it. You know, really, I'm sure impacts a lot of who you are in terms of...
It does,
yeah.
it does. Because the experience of different cultures, different religions, and to be able to see part of the world when it was just bombed and there was just nothing but rubble in the street.
Right, and here you had your family to hang on to.
Yes.
And I'm sure the friendships that you made throughout those years too. And so when you came to Santa Maria at some point, it was 1972 that you became a teacher in the Santa Maria Bonita School District.
It was not Santa Maria Bonita,
No?
It was Santa Maria.
Santa Maria. Bonita happened later.
Bonita happened later.
That's right. So in the Santa Maria district, you were a teacher. Tell us about the grade level, the experiences.
You know, I did a lot of subbing, so mostly junior high, and I loved El Camino, so I used to do a lot of subbing at El Camino. And I did the testing for the limited, when the first came out with the limited English speaking, I did the testing myself, and two other teachers did the testing on that.
Okay.
Because we had a lot of limited English speaking children here in the community, as we do now. And so they were trying to figure out in the school district what they were going to do with these kids. And speaking Spanish from Cuba is different than Puerto Rico, it's different from Mexico, or different from Central America. So it was an interesting time. And what they thought was going to take a couple of months took us an entire year to identify some of these students.
So identification and really trying to support the students who have a different background, and while they speak Spanish, the Spanish was very different.
Spanish is very different, yes.
So you taught in a classroom. I think now what I'm hearing you say is you substitute taught as well, but it lasted about 10 years, I understand. Is that right?
Right.
And then at that point, or at some point, you decided to run for school board, and I think that was the Santa Maria Joint
Union High School District. I did. I thought I could really make a difference because I don't agree with some of the things that were done in education. Not what goes on in the classroom with the teacher, because that is where it is, but some of the policies. And then when you find out when you get there, you don't really make that big of a difference because the policies are controlled by Sacramento. And you have very, very little say-so in many things.
I like what you say about the classroom as a classroom, and that's the thing. You know,
that's it. The
teachers
teacher in the
are
classroom.
the number one resource for sure.
They are.
But what you are saying is that you really wanted to make a difference, and I think that we will hear that that's something that you've always thought to do and continue to think to do.
And sometimes you make a difference and sometimes you don't.
But you always try.
But you try.
But you try. Right. So one of the things that you did after being a school board member, and maybe it was the same time as being a school board member, I'd love to hear the timeline, but you really worked in the community on boards as well. So the Marion Medical Center board, you were past president, you were very active. How did you get engaged with the Marion?
The Marion Foundation Board, and I was asked to serve on that, and I enjoyed serving on that. That was a board where everything is positive. There's nothing negative. No one comes to you with a complaint on anything.
Really?
It's just positive. You have a good, healthy lunch at the hospital once a month, and everything is positive on how money is going to be distributed. And I got to learn more about what was going on at Marion Medical. And now, as a regional hospital, it's amazing. It's an absolutely amazing place.
It is really amazing, and I probably know only an inch of what you see. But in terms of the contributions that Marion provides in the community, can you say a little bit more about that? You have that perspective as a board member.
Well, you know, there's a lot has changed since. When I was the president of the foundation is when we started the capital campaign for the hospital today.
I see.
And I thought it's wonderful to have visionaries out there in the community. And I don't consider myself a visionary, but there's people out there who said, we can do it. And we said, okay, let's do it. And so that's when we started the capital campaign.
Wow. Well, it's made a huge difference.
Oh, it's huge.
It's incredible.
Huge.
Yeah, state of the art, I'd say.
State of the art. And now, instead of us or Chuck Cova would have to go out and try to find doctors, they're knocking on our door now. And they want to live here. And the Central Coast is a beautiful place to live.
Absolutely, absolutely. So in 2000, I think, please let me know, City Council.
City Council.
You decided to run for City Council. Is that the right Do I have the right time?
Yes.
And what made you decide, well, I can probably answer it because you want to make a difference, but still tell us, what is it that you really wanted to do?
I felt like I could make a difference. We had not had a woman on the city council since Sadie West, and that had been over 60 years.
Wow.
So and people said, no, you're not, you can't make it because women just don't get elected. So, and the worst thing that could happen was I didn't get elected.
Right.
And I didn't. I came in third.
Ah.
So the council then had to make an appointment. And that's really sort of interesting when they have to make an appointment and people are walking up there at the podium and saying not nice things about you, that you don't deserve it, that they deserve it instead. So anyway, we went through the process and I was appointed on, it was a 3-to-1.
Wow.
And so I served 3 terms on the council.
Wow. And you were the first woman after 60 years in
Yes.
terms of not having another woman
Yes.
in that time. And you also broke another ceiling in terms of becoming mayor in 2012. My understanding is you were the first woman mayor of Santa Maria.
I was the first woman mayor, yes.
How does that make you feel when you hear that or talk about that?
I don't think it so much as gender as much as the things I've done in the community. I love the community, and people see that. And it's the things I want to make the community a better place to live. A lot of that has to do with gender, because as women, we are the nurturers. We are the ones that take care of the kids. We're not so much maybe for the infrastructure and making sure that the pipes are the right diameter or the pavement doesn't have potholes in it and things like that. But I do that too. But we had men who made sure that we had a solid infrastructure in the city of Santa Maria. We had a council that bought state water. And I remember when that came about, and that was very controversial. So when I became mayor, it was easier for me to go out and say, okay, we want to do XYZ for kids, because that's where my passion lies, is doing things for the youth in our community. And so it was much easier because a lot of the work that you don't see, the sewer, the wastewater, the pavement index that we have here in the city of Santa Maria, I like to brag about because it's the highest pavement index in the whole county. And because we make sure things get fixed and they stay fixed.
There's a lot to be proud of and brag about, that's for sure.
There is.
Under your tenure in leadership, for sure. When you, just going back again to the 2012, just curious about, what was it that really made you say, you know what, I'm going to go for this? What kind of differences did you want to make in Santa Maria at that time?
Well, Larry Lavanino, who was a great mayor, and I certainly miss having him on the council, decided he wasn't going to run. And when he told me that, I said, okay, I'm going to run. And I want your support. There was things that I wanted to do, especially for youth. We have CDBG grant monies that I think most of it should be spent for youth. And there was things I felt I could do in our community to make it a better community, make it more livable. I think it should be a safe community. Neighborhoods should be safe. And those are the things that I wanted to do.
I love that. And one of the things that you can see as a noticeable difference are developments that have happened in Santa Maria. There's obviously a lot of economic vitality that's occurring. Buildings are happening. Can you tell us a little bit about the plans for the city in that way?
That's really exciting, because it doesn't just happen in a year or two. And it seemed like it was going to be forever for the ground to start moving. And here we have Costco open now. And this morning I went down to Black Bear Diner, and they had a ribbon cutting there. And there's Buffalo Wild Wings, and pretty soon Lowe's will be opening. And it took years. Plans that went to the Planning Commission, plans that came to us, things that we liked, things that we didn't like, and there's a new school going to be built over there, there's a park that's going to be built, and all these things that are going to happen that had to come before the city council. So that was pretty exciting, because it takes money to provide services for the people in Santa Maria. Some people would like it to be just like a bedroom community. Well, you've got to get the revenue someplace, and I think it's just wonderful what's happening. We'll have some more building going on North Broadway as you come in the entrance to the city.
What are some plans for it?
So that's good. I think there's going to be a Hampton Inn up there. There's going to be a Wendy's. And so there'll be other commercial and retail down on the bottom level. So it'll be great. I mean, there's a lot of things going on in Santa Maria.
I love that. There are a lot of things going on. And earlier you said about Marion Hospital, for example, that here we have a place now where people are knocking on its doors to come and serve in that community. Same for Santa Maria. It's a community that people are wanting to come to and live in and raise their families as they have before, but it's just a different, has a different energy and vitality.
Well, people say you have a beautiful city, and we do. It's a beautiful city. I think probably the greatest asset, though, are the people in the city, because they are so willing to get up and help. We have Serve Santa Maria, which you're welcome to attend, that Carl Nielsen, a pastor, has sort of spearheaded. And so we meet twice a year. We meet at the Maldonado Center. He's got a list of places that we can go to make Santa Maria more beautiful. And whether it's shoveling gravel or bark at Presker Park or planting trees at the Vets Memorial, we do all that. And it's just all the hands that we can do in one day.
That's great.
So it's just amazing, the people. And he's just always amazed the people that come out. But we have people from all different churches, people that, I mean, if I go to places where I will know like 80% of the people. I go there and I don't know 80% of the people. These are people who, these are the community. These people come out and they want to help, and they bring their kids, they bring their grandparents. It's all age groups there. So it's fantastic. Every time I go there and see it, I just think, this is amazing. It's amazing.
I love talking with you about this, Mayor Patino, because you're just lit up with pride, and in it you have so much to be proud of in this beautiful city of Santa Maria. It's wonderful to see the brightness and also hear the energy around all that's happening. And earlier you talked about youth. You talked about a focus on youth. I'd love to hear about some of the ways in which you're focusing on youth. And a particular story I heard had to do with nominating students, I believe, from Pioneer Valley, Santa Maria High School to perform in Washington, D.C. So that's an example. Will you share that with us?
You know, I get things all the time that comes to the mayor's office, and they want me to join this or that, and they want me to go to D.C. or Atlanta or someplace for a conference. So I did receive what was it? Oh, it was for an arts program. And so there was an art teacher at Rigetti, and I called her on the phone. I said, hey, let's see if we can put this together. And she wrote the grant, and all I had to do was sign everything and say the city is willing to help you on this and support you. And we didn't get the grant. And so so you don't hear about the things we didn't get.
Right.
But the things we get. And so I get this letter, and so I was asked to nominate 3 bands from the city of Santa Maria, because they didn't have anyone from the state of California to go back to D.C. to play on the 4th of July. So, of course, I was more than willing to nominate our bands. And I think when you go and see other places and what they're doing, and you think, we're doing a better job here than that. And if you hear our bands in the parade, you think, man, they are really good. You go to Santa Maria High and hear their jazz band, it's
phenomenal.
Fantastic. So there's a lot of good things going on. And so they both got nominated.
That's fantastic.
So I think it's wonderful.
That is great.
You
Well,
know?
thank you for doing that on behalf of them. That's really fantastic. And you mentioned arts. And arts is a big part of Santa Maria Valley. Truly, in anywhere you go, the arts, you can see how much it's appreciated. How much do you love the arts and want to see it throughout your city?
You know what, we're doing the utility, I don't know if you've seen some of the utility boxes we're doing now. I was at El Camino School about 2-3 weeks ago, and they're interested in doing some of the utility boxes. And so I'm going to see how the schools can do that. Santa Maria High wants to do the bus stop, redo the bus stop that's in front of Santa Maria High. And I said, fine, just contact Mr. Odell and make sure it's okay with him. Tell him I said I think it's a wonderful idea, and you guys just do whatever you want there, because I think it'd be great. I was an art minor in school, so art is very important to me. And it seems like in the schools, it's the first thing we do away with are the arts. And I think that's unfortunate, because it really encompasses a lot of kids. It tells a lot about our community. And we had people coming to the city council about 2 weeks ago, about the arts. And I think it's a great thing to have art in the community. my question is who's going to pay for it, because it is costly. And if everyone can pay for it, like they pay for the water, like they pay for the streets, that's fine. But it's a question of who pays for it. And so perhaps we can get that ironed out so we have more art in the city of Santa Maria.
Well, when you drive through the streets, you can see how obviously it's a priority out there because it's beautiful. Things are colored with art, and it's throughout.
Well, even the
community.
landscaping can be artistic, you know, and the way that the streets are, or the sidewalks, whether they look like brick or the crosswalks, can be artistic. But I think we really need to think about how we're going to do this, because I think we should do it. It's just a matter, like I said, who's going to pay for it.
That's right, that's right. And a lot of times things that are paid for in a city, it could be an education, an organization, an entity, or a town, often happen because of partnerships that we have. And I know that you are somebody who appreciates the power of partnerships. How are some of those partnerships identified or found in Santa Maria Valley?
You know, we're partnering right now with Allen Hancock, and then we have with the Chamber of Commerce, and we go into, and also with businesses, because businesses need employees that have to be proficient at a certain level, whether it's a skill, whether it's reading, and the literacy, and we partner with Hancock with that. We partner different things with the Chamber of Commerce and to promote tourism, and so we have a multimedia that we have going on with the tourism right now in Santa Maria, and those things are very, very important. We partner with different agencies like Fighting Back Santa Maria Valley, and we have agencies in the Santa Maria Valley that we want to help youth, and so we partner with them. And I think with our mayor's task force on youth safety, we're doing that. And I'm just amazed at the people at the table. And these are our sheriff from the county, probation, Bev Taylor from the county. So we're getting really the cream of the crop, the brains up there that have resources, they know what they can do, they know what programs work and don't work, and we're getting them all together and partnering so that we can make life better and safer for our youth in the city of Santa Maria.
You can really see that you're convening some of the top leaders around youth and safety to really make a difference, and here you are at the forefront.
I think a lot of communities, and I've seen people put money into programs that don't work, and I won't mention them by name, but they just don't work. So why spend the money on them? Let's do something that, there are so many things that don't cost a lot of money, but do take time and do take people. Mentoring is one of those things.
Right. Talk about mentoring. Yeah. How that impacts and influences. How do you see that making a difference in this community?
You know, I see it as making a big difference, and all kinds of science-based programs back in anything that you see. Mentoring is very, very important. I was at the Boys and Girls Club the other night, and they have back a youth, and so here you are for 2 or 3 hours, and you're mentoring a youth. You don't know how much impact you're going to have on a person. You don't know when you ride the bus and sit next to a youth the impact you're going to have on a person. So mentoring isn't just like a 3-hour deal, or taking a kid out to dinner for an evening, or it can be for just a few minutes, or something that you say, something that you do for that youth. And I go into the schools and talk to kids about anything in the community. I let them bring up the subject.
And when you do, I know that you make such an impact on them. To have the mayor come in and speak with the student and allow a child to ask any question they want. And I know that you would give such great responses, and really, even in that, mentoring that student while you're there. It's really, really wonderful that you do that.
Well, I received some letters from junior high students from Tommy Kuntz Junior High.
Yes.
And and the instructor sent me an email, and he sent me a package of letters, and I read them all. And I said, well, rather than send you an email back, why don't I just go speak to your class? And so I was able to do that, and that was fun.
That's great.
That was fun because they'll really talk to you.
Yeah.
They really talk to you and tell you what it's like.
Tell it like it is.
And I give them all my card, because I said, if you don't want to say it here, you can always call me on the phone.
I love that. So for our audience members who are watching today and inspired by listening to you, Mayor Patino, what might be a way in which a community member can plug in, get involved? I'm sure there's multiple scales. It's very, very big scale, but also, just as you talked about with mentoring, it could be a very small, impactful, meaningful thing. So what are some things?
Well, we have the Mayor's Youth Task Force. We have boards and commissions you can apply for and be on. Anytime we have any kind of meetings, come to the city council.
Be involved.
And be involved. And I have people that do that. I have people that just email me and say, I just moved here, I would like to get involved with the community, what can I do?
That's great.
They can go down to the chamber and do the same thing. They can be involved in some of the schools.
That's great. Well, something that I know I'm curious about, and I'm sure our audience too, is what is the best part of being the mayor of Santa Maria?
The best part are the people I meet, and especially the kids I meet.
Yeah.
I was in a class about 2 weeks ago at El Camino, and I was only going to stay there for about an hour and a half. I think I was there for 2 hours, and I think I was finally saved by the bell because they had to leave. But they had so many questions. And not only did they have questions, they had solutions. And so we were talking about, for instance, code compliance, that you're not supposed to leave your car parked on the lawn. You're not supposed to leave your trash cans out. They're not supposed to be visible. You're not supposed to have all this trash in the front. And so this one young man says, oh boy, he said, my dad leaves the trash cans out all the time. You should see the junk he brings home and puts in the backyard. I'm going to tell my dad this is not legal. But it was a group of kids that said, yeah, we want to clean up the city. We don't think it's pretty. We want to clean it up.
That's great. It came with solutions.
And solutions that work.
Yeah.
And I think this is part of learning civics.
Right.
I would like them to, and I plan to do that because I plan to go back to some of the schools. I'd like to set up task force in each one of the campuses and then have the kids come together once a month or every other month with activities, with solutions. If they want to bring a proposal for an ordinance to City Council to see how it's done, I'd like them to do that.
What a wonderful message.
And I think civic engagement is so important. Let's learn it at a young age. And let's learn how to do it in a positive way.
Right.
Because that's what's important, in a positive way. And how it can be done. And I think they can do it.
Well, to the Honorable Mayor Patino, I really appreciate that final message to the youth. It's a perfect way to end our segment today because just as you said, as you started as your first term as mayor, you really had a priority on youth, and here we are ending the interview with that message. And something that strikes me is the fact that you're out and about in the community, you're in our schools, you're at our parks, you're at the churches, you're at different events, getting to know the community members, and we really appreciate your leadership and your inspiration, and thank you so much for being my guest today.
Well, thank you very much for having me here today.
Appreciate it. I'm Susan Salcido, Santa Barbara County Superintendent of Schools. Thank you so much for joining me today for this edition of Local Leaders.